My wife said she was just exploring her sexuality. Then I found out the truth about her double life, cheating wife. My wife admitted that she is bisexual. At first, I thought I would like it, but then I wanted to stop it, and she refused. She told me she was just exploring her sexuality. I wanted to be supportive, a good husband. But what started as curiosity turned into months of lies, secret hotel rooms, and a double life I never saw coming. This is the story of how I discovered my wife's hidden affair and how I turned heartbreak into revenge. The twist I didn't see coming. My wife, Ava, sat me down on a Tuesday night and said, very calmly, that she is bisexual and wanted to explore that side of herself. I told her I loved her, and at first I even thought I would like being the supportive, modern husband who could handle the new chapter. She promised just women, total honesty, and no secrets. I wanted to believe her. Here's the twist I didn't see coming. 3 days later, I woke up to a flood of comments on Ava's social media celebrating her bravery and authentic life. The photos were new. Ava and a woman named Camila, forehead to forehead, captioned, "Finally free to be me." The applause was loud. My confusion was louder. We hadn't even finished our first real conversation about boundaries. Meanwhile, I was the one making breakfast, watering the plants, and rereading our vows in my head. If this were the whole story, I'd say we stumbled into miscommunication. But the first signs of trouble had actually started weeks earlier. Her phone pinged twice in a hotel room during a little staycation we took to reconnect. Same contact name, no message preview. When I asked about it, she shrugged and said it was just a good friend and that I was reading into it. Later, I heard her mom on speaker ask, "Who are you going on a trip with?" Ava went quiet, then waved it off as a girls' weekend. I pushed. She admitted she'd booked a trip with an ex. Just friends, strictly platonic, she said. She called me controlling for asking to see the messages. That word stung more than I expected. I tried to reset. I told myself this was new territory for both of us. But small things multiplied. A new gym bag, late workouts, inside jokes I wasn't part of, and a glow I couldn't place. She'd float in after midnight, swearing that the energy with women is different and that I wouldn't understand. I wanted to understand. I just wanted honesty. One night, I came home early to surprise her. A bad romantic movie queued up, the whole corny package. Instead, I walked into a living room that looked staged for someone else's story. A second wine glass, a sweater that wasn't hers, music still playing. The house felt like it was holding its breath. I stood there longer than I'll admit, listening for footsteps from upstairs. Nothing. The silence felt unkind. I left, telling myself not to jump to conclusions, but my hands were shaking on the steering wheel. I slept at the office. By morning, a knot had formed behind my ribs. I needed facts, not feelings. The next morning, I tried to act normal. I made coffee, texted her a good morning message, and got a reply. Stated Jenna's, late night. Don't be mad, red heart. That tiny heart symbol felt like camouflage. By noon, I couldn't focus on work. Something in me, call it instinct, call it heartbreak's early warning system, pushed me to check our shared laptop. I opened her browser. The search history was wiped, but one autofill suggestion slipped through. Hotel near Lakewood Park. We didn't live anywhere near Lakewood Park. I clicked. The browser reopened the booking site automatically, showing the last reservation logged in her email. 2 guests, 1 room, queen bed. The booking was made under her personal email, one I didn't even know she still used. My pulse was so loud I almost didn't hear my coworker asking if I was okay. I lied, said I'd eaten something bad. That night, she came home radiant. New perfume, hair tousled in that effortlessly careless way. I complimented her, because that's what I did. She smiled too fast. "You're sweet," she said, avoiding my eyes. "I'm just tired. Work's crazy." I hugged her, and that's when I smelled it. Cologne, faint but there. Not mine. Definitely not floral, either. It was sharp, musky, masculine. I pulled back. "You smell different," I said. She froze for half a second, then laughed it off. Maybe the Uber driver's cologne stuck to me. That was the moment the wall of denial cracked. When she showered, I opened her phone. Yes, I did it. Spare me the moral lecture. If you've ever loved someone and felt them slipping away, you'd understand. Her password was new, but she'd forgotten to log out of her smartwatch. Notifications still synced. A message preview blinked at the top. "Camila, You're glowing today. Last night was wow. Another. Camila, you should tell him soon. Secrets make it worse. My vision blurred. I just sat there on the edge of the couch, reading the words again and again. When she came out of the shower, towel around her, I handed her the watch. Ava, I said quietly. Who's Camila? Her face went pale, then red, then defensive. She's just a friend. Don't go through my stuff. That's toxic, Mark. Friends don't book hotels together, I said. And they definitely don't write messages like last night was wow. She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried to spin another lie. You're misunderstanding. We were drunk. It was experimental. You said you'd support me exploring. I said honesty, Ava. That's what I said. She looked down, eyes glistening, then dropped to her knees right there on the carpet. Please, Mark. It didn't mean anything. I just needed to feel alive. It was just passion. I don't even know why. I was stupid. For a second, my heart tried to forgive her. Then I remembered the hotel receipt, the 2 nights, not one, and her radiant smile that morning. It wasn't a single mistake. It was a decision, and she'd made it more than once. I walked out of the room before the shaking in my hands turned into something worse. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay there thinking about the irony, how I'd supported her self-discovery, only to lose myself in the process. And deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. The next morning, Ava acted like nothing happened. She made pancakes, humming along to some pop song, as if last night's confession had been a bad dream we'd both agreed to forget. When I didn't touch my plate, she sighed dramatically and said, Mark, can we please move past this? It was just one stupid night. I feel awful enough already. I said nothing, because the truth is, I didn't believe it was just one night. After she left for work, I drove to Lakewood Park, the location from the hotel receipt. I didn't even know what I was looking for, but somehow I needed to see it. The hotel was modest, tucked behind a diner, the kind of place that pretends to be discreet but lives for scandal. The clerk didn't recognize me, but when I mentioned Ava's name, she hesitated for half a beat. That was all the confirmation I needed. I sat in my car for nearly an hour, watching couples come and go, every one of them blurring into her face. That evening, she came home early, wearing the same perfume as before. She said her boss had given her the day off. I asked her straight out, Were you really at work today? She didn't even blink. Of course. Why are you still obsessed with this? You're turning into my dad. That stung. Her father, Frank, was a bitter man who always suspected everyone of something. I'd spent years proving to her I wasn't like him. Still, I pressed. So if I call your office right now, they'll tell me you were there? Her eyes flickered. Then she snapped. Don't you dare embarrass me like that. You're paranoid, Mark. You need help. That line hit me like déjà vu because it's exactly what she used to say about her mom, how she'd gaslight her father when caught lying. I suddenly saw it. The pattern, the manipulation, the inherited chaos. A few hours later, her sister, Chloe, called me. Hey, she whispered. I don't want to get in the middle, but Ava told Mom you're accusing her of cheating. You're scaring her. Scaring her? I laughed bitterly. Chloe, she's the one sneaking around. There was a pause, then a nervous exhale. Look, Mark, I don't know everything, but Camila's not just some random girl. She used to date Ava back in college. It ended badly. They're complicated. That word, complicated, hit me like ice water. I'd never even heard of a Camila before this week. When Ava came home that night, I told her I knew about college. Her reaction wasn't guilt, it was fury. You had no right to dig into my past. That was before you. Then why lie about it now? I asked. She folded her arms, glaring. Because I knew you'd overreact. You always do. God, you're making me feel like a criminal. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I just looked at her, really looked, and realized I didn't recognize the woman standing in front of me. Later that night, I heard her crying in the shower. I wanted to comfort her, but then I saw her phone screen light up on the counter. Camila, I can't stop thinking about you. You okay? So much for regret. That was the moment I decided I needed my own plan. Revenge wasn't the goal, clarity was. But if a little justice came with it, I wasn't going to turn it down. I started quietly collecting everything. Screenshots, call logs, receipts, even the synced smartwatch messages I hadn't deleted yet. I wasn't sure why. Maybe it was self-preservation. Maybe it was rage wearing a suit of reason. When you're betrayed, you start noticing things you used to dismiss. Little tells. The extra shower when she got home. The way she started dressing up to run errands. The perfume that changed from floral to bold and spicy. The same one she wore the night she claimed she was at Jenna's. One night, her phone buzzed while she was cooking. She didn't hear it over the sizzling pan, so I glanced at the screen. A notification popped up from Lila. The preview read, "Still on for the cabin next weekend?" Just us girls winking face. I didn't touch the phone, but my stomach turned. I waited until after dinner and asked casually, "So, what are you doing this weekend?" She didn't even flinch. "Spa trip with the girls. You know, self-care." I smiled and said, "That's great. Where are you staying?" Her spoon froze midair. Somewhere up north. Chloe booked it." Funny thing, Chloe had already texted me that morning to say she was flying to Miami for a work retreat. That's when I knew this wasn't about self-discovery anymore. It was a full-blown double life. I decided to test her. I told her my mom had invited us for dinner Sunday evening, pretending I'd forgotten about her trip. She said, "Oh right, maybe I'll come back early then." Her voice was too bright. That Sunday, I drove to my mom's anyway, told her everything. She just sat there in her cardigan, staring at her tea. Finally, she said quietly, "You always tried to be the safe place for her, Mark. Some people don't know how to live in safety. They need chaos." My dad, less gentle, muttered, "She's making a fool out of you. Pack her bags and change the locks." But I wasn't ready. Not yet. I still needed the truth, every piece of it. So I followed her. She left Friday morning with an overnight bag, kissed me on the cheek, and said, "Don't wait up, babe." I watched her drive away, then took my own car and tailed her from a distance. She stopped at a cabin 2 hours north. Camila's car was already there. I'd seen it once before in our driveway, when Ava said she was borrowing tools from a coworker. I parked down the road and waited. At one point, the curtain shifted, and I saw Ava's silhouette, laughing, her head thrown back. Then another shadow leaned in, close enough that even from that distance, I knew they were kissing. The thing that broke me wasn't the cheating itself, it was the sound of her laugh. The one she hadn't used around me in months. I drove back home in silence. That night, when she texted me, "Miss you already, red heart," I replied, "Me too." But in my chest, something had gone very still. The kind of still that comes before a storm. She came home on Sunday night, glowing like she'd been living inside a romantic movie. Hair a little messy, cheeks flushed, humming as she unpacked. I stood by the counter, pretending to scroll through my phone, but my heart was pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. "How was the trip?" I asked. "It was amazing," she said, grinning. "The girls are thinking of making it an annual thing." "Oh yeah," I said. "Which girls?" She froze just slightly, like a frame catching mid-motion. "You know, Jenna and, Lila." I looked up, met her eyes, and said softly, "You mean Camila?" Her face drained of color. "Wow, what are you talking about?" "I followed you, Ava." My voice came out quieter than I expected, steady and sharp. "I saw her. I saw both of you." Her lips parted like she was about to speak, but nothing came out. Then she shook her head. "Mark, you're misunderstanding. You followed me. That's insane. That's not okay." "You've been lying to me for months," I said, finally letting my voice rise. "And you're talking to me about boundaries?" She started pacing, rubbing her temples. "It wasn't like that. We were just reconnecting. I didn't mean for it to happen again." "Again?" I asked, and she stopped mid-step, realizing she'd just confirmed what I suspected. Her eyes welled up, and she sank to the floor, hands clasped. "Please, Mark, I don't know what's wrong with me. I love you, I swear I do. She makes me feel something different. I thought I could control it." She crawled toward me on her knees, crying, whispering, "Please, don't leave me. I'll fix this. I'll end it, I promise. I'll block her number right now." I didn't move, just watched her fumble for her phone, unlock it with trembling fingers, pretending to delete messages while shielding the screen. I said quietly, "You're still lying." Her sobs turned into frustration. "You don't get it. You're so perfect, Mark. Always calm, always composed. You make me feel small, like I can't breathe around you." That hit me like a slap. "So you cheated because I wasn't yelling enough?" She stood up then, her tone shifting, eyes sharp again. "You want the truth? Fine. You bored me. You made everything safe, predictable." Camila reminded me who I used to be. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I'd spent years thinking stability was love, that peace was the prize. She stormed off, slammed the bedroom door, and left me standing in the kitchen, surrounded by the echo of all the lies. That night, I packed a small bag and drove to my parents'. I didn't tell her. I didn't even text goodbye. When my mom opened the door and saw my face, she didn't say a word, just pulled me into a hug and said, "It's over, isn't it?" And for the first time, I said it out loud. "Yeah, Mom, it's over." The first few days at my parents' house felt unreal, like waking up in someone else's life. My mom insisted on cooking every meal, even though I could barely eat. My dad kept offering to handle things like a man, which I ignored. I just sat in my old room, staring at the ceiling fan and wondering how the woman I'd trusted with everything could look me in the eye and lie so smoothly. On the third night, Ava showed up at my parents' house. My mom saw her car pull in and called down the hall, "Mark, she's here." I almost didn't go outside, but curiosity won over pride. Ava stood on the porch, her makeup smudged and her voice trembling just enough to sound rehearsed. "Please, Mark, we can fix this. I talked to Camila. It's over. I told her it's you I want." I stared at her. "You said that before, while you were still messaging her." She started crying again. I was confused, okay? I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I wanted to feel alive. But now I realize you're my life. From the window, I saw my dad watching, arms crossed. He muttered something to my mom, probably a warning not to interfere. Ava noticed him and lowered her voice. "Please don't embarrass me in front of your parents." That almost made me laugh. Embarrass her? She'd already done that all on her own. I asked her, "Does your family know about the affair?" Her eyes flickered. I told my mom it was a mistake." "Good," I said, "because she called my mom this morning. She said, and I quote, 'Ava's been acting like a teenager again, always chasing drama.' Sounds familiar, doesn't it?" Her jaw dropped. "You talked to my mother?" "She talked to us," I said. "Seems even she's tired of cleaning up your messes." Ava's face twisted, anger and shame wrestling behind her eyes. "You're trying to turn everyone against me. You don't need my help for that." She went quiet then, shoulders shaking. "Mark, I know I hurt you. But please, don't throw everything away. I'll do therapy. I'll quit my job if that's what you want. I stopped her. "No, Ava. You'll do whatever helps you sleep at night. But it's not my job to rebuild what you burned." She looked stunned, like she hadn't expected me to be calm. I think part of her wanted me to yell, to make her feel like the victim again. But I'd spent all my anger. What was left was clarity. When she finally drove off, my mom came out with a blanket and said quietly, "You handled that like a man who's done being lied to." I just nodded. "Yeah, I think I'm finally done." But that night, lying awake in my childhood bed, I realized being done didn't mean being over it. Not yet. The next morning, I decided that before I could heal, I needed to understand how deep her deception really went. And that meant one last dive into the shadows she'd left behind. I don't know what I was hoping to find when I drove back to our house the next day. Closure, maybe. Or just proof that I hadn't lost my mind. The place looked the same, but it felt different, colder, emptier. Her perfume still hung faintly in the air, like an echo of a life that didn't belong to me anymore. I walked through each room slowly, noticing little things I'd ignored before. A second toothbrush hidden in the cabinet, a pair of earrings I didn't recognize, a wine bottle in the trash that I hadn't opened. The lies weren't just in her words anymore. They were in the furniture, the dishes, the scent of someone else's laughter embedded in the walls. Then I found it. Her laptop, still open on the desk, half hidden under a throw blanket. I hesitated. I'd already seen enough pain on her smartwatch to last a lifetime. But curiosity, or maybe masochism, won. Her inbox was a minefield of confessions. Messages to Camila under a fake name. Plans for more girls' trips. But what hit me hardest wasn't the romantic stuff. It was a thread between Ava and her boss. He'd written, "You looked amazing at the conference. Still thinking about that night in Dallas, winking face." And her reply, sent just 2 weeks before she confessed she was done with lying. "Stop teasing. You know I can't talk like this at work." So much for ending it. So much for honesty. My hands went numb on the keyboard. I felt like every lie had sprouted another beneath it, like a hydra of betrayal. I'd been married to a stranger with a smile I'd memorized. When I left the house, I called her sister, Chloe. I told her everything. The hotel, the woman, the boss, the messages. There was a long silence before Chloe said softly, "Mark, I'm so sorry. You know she's been like this since high school, right? Always chasing something new, someone to make her feel special. I thought marriage would settle her down." That hit me hard, not because it excused her, but because it meant everyone else saw the storm coming but me. That night, I sat at a diner off the highway, just staring at my reflection in the window. I didn't look broken. I looked empty. Then my phone buzzed. It was an unknown number, followed by a text. "Hey, it's Camila. Can we talk? Please. You deserve to know the truth." I almost deleted it. But something in me, that same mix of anger and curiosity that had driven me this far, whispered that maybe, just maybe, she was about to reveal something I still hadn't seen. And if I was going to finally end this nightmare, I needed every last piece of it. I agreed to meet Camila the next morning at a coffee shop across town. She showed up wearing sunglasses even though it was cloudy, her hair tied back, looking nervous but composed, the kind of confidence that comes from knowing you hold the last missing piece of a puzzle. "Mark," she said softly, "thank you for meeting me. I didn't want to make things worse, but you deserve honesty." I folded my arms. "You're a little late for honesty." She sighed, removing her glasses. Her eyes were tired. "You're right. But Ava's been lying to you, and to me, too." I didn't respond, just waited. "She told me she'd separated from you months ago," Camila said. "That you two were done. She said she was living at her sister's place, and that you were seeing someone else." That last part made me laugh bitterly. "Seeing someone? I've barely seen sunlight." Camila nodded, her expression guilty. I figured that out pretty quick. She'd always hide her phone when I texted. "Leave the room." Once, when we were together, her mom called, and she answered all cheerful, saying you were out running errands. I realized then, she was living a double life, and I was just another prop in it. I sat back, stunned. So she lied to both of us. "She lies to everyone," Camila said. "When I told her I couldn't keep doing it, she got angry, said you were emotionally abusive, that she was trapped. I didn't believe it, but I loved her once. I guess I wanted to." There it was, the truth I hadn't wanted to face. Ava's cheating wasn't about passion or discovery. It was about control. Lies were her currency, and she spent them freely. Camila reached across the table. "I'm sorry, Mark. I really am. If it helps." I ended it for good. She begged me to keep quiet, but I couldn't. I shook my head. "You didn't know me that, but I appreciate it." Before leaving, she said one last thing that stuck with me. "She's going to try to come back. She always does. Don't let her." That night, back at my parents' house, I told my mom everything. She listened quietly, then said, "Son, you've been living in the ruins of someone else's chaos. It's time to build something new, for yourself." My dad, in his usual blunt way, added, "The best revenge isn't anger. It's happiness. Show her she didn't break you." That line echoed in my head for days. So I started planning something I hadn't done in years, a trip. Alone. No destination that reminded me of her. Somewhere warm, far alive. Somewhere I could remember what freedom felt like before love turned into a lie. As I packed, I found our wedding photo tucked in a drawer. I stared at it for a long time, then quietly slipped it into the trash. I wasn't that man anymore, and I sure as hell wasn't her husband. I booked a ticket to Arizona. No grand reason, just the opposite of what my life had become. Open sky, dry heat, and room to breathe. When I told my parents, Mom smiled and slipped a note into my jacket pocket that said, "Come back lighter." Dad just grunted, "About time." The morning I left, Ava texted me for the first time in a week. "Can we talk before you go? Please, Mark. I'm not okay." I stared at it for a long time. Then I deleted the message and boarded the plane. For the first time in months, silence felt like peace instead of punishment. The desert was endless, golden, and quiet. Everything Ava wasn't. I rented a bike, hiked red canyons, ate at diners where no one knew my name. At night, I'd sit on the motel balcony with a cheap beer and watch the sky bruise itself purple, wondering how something so broken could still be beautiful. By the third night, I started writing again. Not about her. About me. About the quiet things I'd given up. The music, the running, the late-night sketching I used to do when life was simple. I filled half a notebook before realizing I hadn't once thought about what she was doing. Then my phone buzzed. An unknown number again. Against my better judgment, I opened it. "Unknown, You should know Ava's seeing someone from her office. They've been together since before you left. No name, no context. Probably Camila or someone who wanted to stir the ashes. I didn't respond. I just stared at the message until I laughed. The absurdity of it all hit me. How I'd spent years trying to be good enough for someone who couldn't even tell the truth about herself. The next morning, I blocked her number, deleted every photo, every message, every trace of her name. It felt less like losing and more like setting down a weight I'd been carrying too long. 2 days later, I was sitting in a little roadside cafe when a woman around my age asked if she could share my table. She was reading the same book I was. We talked about music, hiking, the weird comfort of small towns. Her name was Lauren. She laughed easily, real laughter, not the performative kind I'd gotten used to. When I told her I was newly separated, she didn't flinch. She just said, "Then you've already done the hardest part." That night, walking back to the motel, I realized she was right. The hardest part wasn't losing Ava. It was remembering I existed before her, and that I could again after. Back home, my mom cried when I hugged her. My dad clapped my shoulder and said, "Looks like Arizona did its job." And for the first time in a long while, I believed him. But as I unpacked, a single envelope fell out of my bag. The handwriting on the front was unmistakable. Ava. I hadn't packed it, which meant she'd slipped it into my stuff before I left. For a full day, I left the envelope untouched, tucked on my desk beside the Arizona sand still clinging to my shoes. Part of me didn't want to give her one more word of my time. But curiosity has a way of gnawing through resolve. Late that night, I opened it. Her handwriting hadn't changed. Neat loops, careful lines. Inside, 3 pages. No perfume, no drama, just ink. Mark, if you're reading this, I guess you really left. I don't blame you. I want to say I'm sorry, but even I don't know if that means anything now. I lied because I was scared. I thought being wanted by everyone meant I was worth something. You made life so calm that I mistook it for emptiness. I didn't know peace when I had it. Camila's gone. My job might be gone soon too. I've lost most of my friends. I keep waiting to feel free, but I just feel smaller every day. Please don't hate me forever. Please remember I did love you, even if I didn't know how to protect that love. If there's a way to start over, I'll take it, even if it's just me starting over alone. I read it twice, feeling nothing at first, then an ache. Not love, not longing, just the ghost of what used to be. For the first time, I realized her apology wasn't for me. It was a confession written to the mirror she could no longer face. I folded the pages neatly and burned them in the sink. The smoke curled upward, soft and gray, like something leaving for good. The next morning, I went for a long run through the quiet streets of my hometown. The air was cold, the sunrise clean and sharp. Somewhere between breaths, it hit me that I'd stopped replaying the betrayal in my head. I wasn't the man who got cheated on anymore. I was the man who walked away. In the months that followed, I took a photography class, started volunteering at a local shelter, reconnected with old friends I'd lost touch with while trying to save a marriage that was already gone. The days stopped feeling heavy. The nights stopped feeling lonely. Sometimes I'd think of Ava, not with anger, just understanding. She was a storm, and I'd finally learned that not every storm is meant to be weathered. Some are meant to be survived. Last week, I mailed Lauren a photo I'd taken in Arizona. A sunrise breaking over red stone, light flooding everything. On the back I wrote, "I came back lighter." And I did. If anyone reading this is where I was, thinking forgiveness means staying, trust me, it doesn't. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away before the fire burns you too. Because peace isn't found in someone else's apology. It's found in your own freedom. I have many other stories. Go to my channel, subscribe so you don't lose us. Give me a thumbs up